Some nights, the hum of the machines fades until all that's left is breath. Yours, mine, and something that doesn't belong in the room. In the ICU, silence isn't peaceful. It's not the kind of quiet that soothes. It's the kind that coils. Machines hiss and click, and you start to realize how many of those sounds aren't mechanical, they're human. Then one night, one of those sounds doesn't belong to either. My name is Callie. I'm 33 years old. I'm a registered night nurse in the ICU. Before this, I was a music teacher. I used to have a voice like honey, people said. Now I just listen. To be honest, I've forgotten how to sing, and I think I started forgetting the night I first heard the wall behind bed 9 breathing. It started slow. That's how it always begins. Small things you explain away. Bed 9 is the farthest from the nurse's station, tucked in the corner next to an old sealed-off service corridor. No one uses it anymore. There's a vent behind the bed, and we always assumed it was the source of the draft, the strange noises, the flickering lights. Hospitals have quirks like that. Old bones. But one night, the air turned humid. I'd just finished giving meds to a combative stroke patient 2 rooms down, and I was exhausted, mentally and physically. I walked past bed 9 and paused. The curtain was drawn, though the room was supposed to be unoccupied. I pulled it back slowly, expecting maybe a confused family member or someone who wandered in by mistake. No one, just a bed, neatly made. The kind of crispness that only happens right after a discharge or a death. But the air was warm, and the pillow was indented. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I listened. That's when I heard it. A low, rhythmic inhaling and exhaling. It wasn't coming from the vent. It wasn't mechanical. It was wet, strained, human. I told myself it was just the aftermath of a long shift, that the pressure and stress had crawled into my head and made a home there. I turned on the overhead light to shake it off. That's when I saw the smear, a handprint, not bloody. It wasn't even oily. It was just moisture, like breath caught in condensation. 5 perfect fingers spread wide across the headboard above the pillow, facing down. The next day I checked the log. Bed 9 had been empty for 2 nights. The patient who was there before, Mr. Lawn, had passed away on my shift. A quiet man, died from complications after sepsis. No family, no belongings. His body was claimed by the city. I had zipped the bag myself. I told no one. What could I say? That the wall behind an empty bed was breathing. But the sounds didn't stop. The next week, I heard it again. I was passing meds, and the floor was unusually calm. The others were on break, and I was alone. I heard the inhale first, then a cough. Not a sharp one. It was wet, dragging, phlegmy, the kind you hear when someone is drowning in their lungs. I froze. Then the machines, the ones we store in that corner, unplugged, beeped. Once, then again. I turned. The heart monitor flickered to life. Nothing was plugged into it. No wires. But the waveform danced, like it was reading something just out of sight. It pulsed in time with my own heart. I know because I could feel it beating against my ribs. Hard, too hard. The screen blinked a number. 79 BPM. I took a step forward, but something stopped me. It was music, soft. So soft, I thought it might be memory. But it was there. A melody I hadn't heard in years. A lullaby I used to sing to my dad when he was dying, when the morphine made him drift, and he said my voice was the only thing that felt real. I hadn't sung it since the day he passed, and there by the bed, by the wall that shouldn't breathe, I heard it. Not loud, not clear, like someone humming it from deep within the wall, like lungs just behind the drywall. Remembered the tune. I didn't tell anyone. Again, because if I said it aloud, I'd have to believe it. But I started visiting bed 9 every night. Just for a moment, I'd check the sheets, the pillow, the headboard. Sometimes it was all clean. Sometimes the handprint was back. Always wet, always fresh. One night, I sat in the chair beside the bed. I don't know why. Maybe I was tired of pretending. Maybe I was tired of feeling like everything that mattered in my life had died. My father, my voice, my ability to sleep without dreaming of empty beds. I whispered, "I'm sorry." I didn't know who I was saying it to. Mr. Lawn, my father, myself. That's when the curtain closed by itself. Just a shift in the air, maybe, but it closed, and for a moment I felt someone sitting across from me. Not saw, felt. The cushion didn't dip, the chair didn't squeak, but I felt the presence. The wall behind the bed inhaled. I exhaled. It was like a duet. The breath came slower this time, softer, and I realized something. It wasn't trying to scare me. It was just there, like me, left behind, waiting. I think Bed 9 remembers everyone who dies there. Not the name, not the chart, the breath, the last breath. It stores them like a choir behind the plaster. Now, I hum again. I started softly, just passing by. But some nights, when the hallway is too quiet, I go to Bed 9 and sit, and I hum the lullaby. The wall doesn't breathe back every time, but sometimes it does. Not threatening, just echoing. People say hospitals are full of death, but that's not true. They're full of what comes just after. The echo, the residue, the breath that forgets where to go. I still haven't told anyone. I don't need to. Some things are only meant for silence, like a wall that breathes, like the handprint that won't dry, like me. The worst part of a code isn't the alarms, it's the silence afterward, not relief, but something too quiet to trust. Like the room itself is holding its breath. There's a tension in the ICU that never really leaves. You can wipe the blood off the linoleum, reset the monitors, change the linens, but the room remembers. It holds the weight. Some rooms more than others. My name is Miguel. I'm 41. I've been a trauma nurse for 12 years. Nights only. I've seen every kind of code you can imagine. Violent ones, slow ones, ones where the family already knows and doesn't cry. I've learned how to carry it. I don't flinch, not anymore, except for room 4. We call it room black. It was a regular room, once, nothing special, but that changed about 4 months ago. The night Diane Sutter coded, she wasn't supposed to die. Not like that. She was recovering, slow but steady. A post-op complication had landed her back in ICU. Sepsis scare, nothing we hadn't handled before. She was alert, witty, asked for chamomile tea, and hated the smell of the soap we used. She reminded me of my aunt, the one who raised me. Strong, stubborn, still pretty in her 60s. The kind of woman who wouldn't let you forget her name. But that night, everything went sideways. It started with a rapid drop in pressure, just out of nowhere. Within seconds, her heart rate crashed. The monitors screamed. We called the code. I was the first one in the room. She looked at me, really looked, and said something I still hear, even now. Don't let them close the door. That's all. Then she seized, then flatlined. We worked on her for 16 minutes. Chest compressions, epinephrine, intubation. Nothing brought her back. Time of death, 3:42 a.m. Afterward, I stood outside the room, soaked in sweat. I kept thinking about her last words. The door had been wide open the whole time. Why did she say that? We cleaned up, moved her body, logged the chart. Room 4 sat empty for 3 nights after. Then it started. At first it was small. The room's monitor would blink on by itself, not the wall panel, the portable heart monitor, the kind you unplug and store. It would power up around 3:40 a.m., beep once, then go still. I thought maybe someone was messing with me. ICU pranks are rare, but not unheard of, except the plug was out and the machine wasn't connected to anything. Then came the alarms. Only room 4. Only at night. The sensors would trip for no reason. The call light would blink even when no one was inside. One time, the bed adjusted itself, lifted into Fowler's position like someone was sitting up, but there was no one in the bed. I started avoiding the room. I'd delegate checks. Float nurses would cover the vitals when it was empty. One night, I forgot. I walked in to restock gloves. The lights flickered as I entered, and I heard breathing, not through the wall, in the room, labored, raspy breathing. I froze, looked around, nothing. Then I turned to leave and saw the reflection. In the glass of the wall monitor, just for a second I saw Diane, not a ghost, not glowing, just her, sitting upright in the bed, looking toward the door. Her expression wasn't scared, it was sad, and she mouthed the words again. "Don't let them close the door." The screen went black. I nearly fell backward. After that, I started looking into her chart again, rereading my own notes, checking for mistakes, anything I might have missed. I kept thinking maybe she was trying to tell me something. She had no family listed, no one to call. Her personal effects had been minimal. A pair of glasses, a paperback novel, a half-used bottle of lavender lotion. I took the lotion home. I don't know why. I couldn't make myself throw it out. For weeks I kept it in my locker. Sometimes I'd open it, smell it, try to remember her voice. Then I started dreaming about her. In the dream, I'm back in room 4. The code alarm is going off, but everything's in slow motion. I try to move, but my legs are heavy. Diane's lying in the bed reaching toward me, and the door behind me is slowly closing. I'm trying to hold it open, but something's pulling it shut. And just before it closes completely, she screams. Not with her mouth, but with her eyes. I always wake up right then. I've had that dream 6 times. I started sleeping during the day, trying to reset my schedule. It didn't help. The hospital stayed with me, like a song stuck in the back of my throat. I came in early one night and found a charting error in the system. A medication logged for room 4, morphine, 3 mg IV, time-stamped 3:42 a.m., but no one was assigned to that room. No patient, no order. I checked the logs. My badge had accessed the med cabinet, except I was at home. I checked my phone. Text messages sent during that time. I wasn't even on the floor. I printed the report and took it to admin. They shrugged it off. System error, delayed input. Maybe a nurse forgot to log off. But I knew better. She was still in there. Room 4 doesn't feel empty. It feels paused, like it's mid-breath. I started leaving the door open at night, even when the room is unoccupied. And strangely, the alarm stopped. No more phantom vitals, no more beeps. But sometimes, if you stand outside the doorway around 3:40 a.m. and you feel something, like someone watching or waiting, like a presence that never got to finish what it needed to say. I started talking to her, quietly, just a few words when I passed. "I'm here. I remember you." I didn't close the door. Maybe that's what she wanted, to be remembered, to be heard. Some nights, the scent of lavender follows me home. I checked again recently. Her name's no longer in the system. Diane Sutter doesn't exist in our records anymore. The file's been archived or lost. But room 4 remembers, and so do I. I told the new nurse last week, "Don't close the door to room 4, ever." She laughed, but the next night I found the door ajar again, just a crack, enough to see the bed. There was an imprint on the pillow, and someone had written something in condensation on the inside of the window. 5 words, clear as breath. "I asked you to listen." Now every night before I clock out, I check room 4, and I listen. Not for alarms, but for her. At 3 a.m., even coffee tastes like sleep. The lounge feels like a place between breaths, where time waits for no one, and no one waits anymore. Most nights, the visitor lounge is a forgotten pocket of stillness. The vending machines hum like insects in a wall. The linoleum floor scuffs under your shoes no matter how softly you walk. There's a TV in the corner that no one turns on anymore, and the mirror above the water cooler. Well, that's the part I try not to look at. I'm Keisha. I've only been a nurse for a year and a half, but it feels like I've aged a decade. They rotate me across wings, but lately I've been assigned to ICU more than usual. I think it's because I don't cry on shift. Not out loud, not where anyone can see. I used to think the mirror in the visitor lounge was just there to make the space feel bigger. That's what they say in design articles, right? Mirrors expand small rooms. But in the dead of night, when the windows fog and the fluorescent lights flicker just enough to make you second-guess shadows, that mirror doesn't reflect space. It reflects time. It started 2 months ago. I just finished helping restrain a post-op patient, going through a delirium episode. He kept shouting about a woman in glass. "Tell her I'm not ready yet," he cried over and over. We assumed it was the meds. Later, I went into the lounge to sit. Just for a minute, I leaned over the sink to wash my hands and glanced at the mirror above it. There was a woman standing behind me. I turned. No one. The room was empty except for me. I looked back. The mirror was empty too. I blamed it on adrenaline, stress, maybe dehydration. But she came back. 2 nights later, I saw her clearly. She was behind me in the mirror again, just for a second, but enough to see the outline of her pale blue dress. Her hair was dark and pulled tightly back, almost painfully severe, and on her feet were glass slippers, not literal glass, but the kind of plastic heels that glint and shine too perfectly, like they belong in a child's idea of elegance. I turned around quickly. Nothing, but the air behind me smelled sweet, artificially so, like old perfume trapped in fabric. I didn't tell anyone. What would I say? I didn't want to be the new nurse who cracked, not this early. After that, I started avoiding the lounge. I'd walk the long way around to get supplies, just to keep from passing that mirror. But one night, I had no choice. I was bleeding from a scratch left by a confused patient who lashed out during a bed change. I went in to rinse the cut and grabbed a paper towel. I looked up out of habit. She was there again, but this time she wasn't behind me. She was in the mirror, on the other side. Her face was right up against the glass. Pale skin, hollow cheeks, and wide still eyes. Her mouth moved slowly, as if underwater. Her hands pressed to the inside of the mirror. The shoes, those impossible, gleaming shoes, tapped against a floor I couldn't see. It looked like she was trying to walk towards someone. No, trying to leave. I backed out of the room and didn't return until morning. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. I started seeing her in other reflections, not just the mirror, in the polished metal of the medication carts, in the glossy black screens of powered-off monitors, always behind me, always walking, always tapping those shoes. Tap, tap, pause, like she was counting steps. One night, a patient coded in room 12. I ran in, heart pounding. I was part of the second wave, following the crash cart. When I passed the door, I saw movement in the safety mirror, above the corner, those half-dome things mounted on the ceiling to prevent collisions. She was standing just outside the room. Not me, not another nurse. Her. She didn't move. She just stood, one hand raised, as if waving goodbye or hello. The patient died 11 minutes later. A week passed. Then it happened again. Another code, another death, another sighting. Her reflection in the brushed steel of the elevator panel near the ICU wing. Her feet were angled like she'd just turned toward room 7. By this point, I started marking the times, the places. I charted it all in a little notepad I kept in my locker. 6 appearances, 6 deaths. I realized she wasn't random. She appeared before each one, as if watching, as if preparing, or collecting. Once I stayed late to test my theory. I sat in the visitor lounge, facing the mirror, watching. At exactly 3:03 a.m., she appeared, clear as ever. She looked at me, her head tilted, slow and deliberate, like she was confused why I could see her. She smiled. Then she raised her hand and touched the glass from the inside. A smudge bloomed on the surface, even though I hadn't moved. And I swear she whispered my name, not aloud, but in the glass. I stood and backed away, heart racing, but I didn't run. I asked her quietly, "Why are you here?" She didn't answer, but her face darkened, like sadness had settled into her features. She pointed behind me. I turned. Nothing. When I looked back, she was gone, and the smudge was gone too. I checked the mirror in the morning. Nothing strange, but a patient on the ward had died in the early hours. A young woman, unexpectedly. Heart failure, no one predicted. Her name was Clarisse. Her shoes were missing from her belongings list. No one could explain it. The nurses said maybe she hadn't arrived with any, but I remembered helping her change once. She had sparkly plastic heels, the same ones. That night, I looked at the mirror again. No reflection, only black, like the mirror had stopped reflecting and started watching. I've stopped avoiding her now. I even greet her sometimes when I catch her in a surface. I think she wants something, or maybe she is something. Not a ghost, but a threshold, a sign, a reflection of what's coming. I don't know how many people she's visited. I don't know if I'm next, but she lingers longer now when she looks at me. She taps her heel once, twice, pauses, then again, as if testing the rhythm, as if waiting for the beat to stop. Maybe one day soon, she'll stop appearing behind me, and instead she'll appear as me, in my place, in the mirror, walking forward, tap, tap, silence. There's a lull between 2 and 3 a.m. where even the clocks seem to hesitate. Not stop, just pause, like they're waiting for something to finish dying. It's the hour when most of the hospital feels like it's floating, like time loosens its grip. We chart our notes, check the same vitals twice, and sip cold coffee from disposable cups with soft rims. The whiteboards shine too brightly under fluorescent lights, and the bulletin boards sag with old printouts no one updates. My name is Janice. I'm 53, a senior night nurse on the ICU floor. I've been here longer than most of the machines. I remember when we still used paper for everything. Honestly, I trusted it more. You could hold it, scribble in the margins, feel the weight of it. These days, we log everything into the system, and it all disappears into some sterile cloud, like we're treating ghosts instead of people. But one night, a piece of paper showed up, a shift report, a real one, handwritten, with my name at the top, except I didn't write it, and the patient listed. We didn't have anyone by that name. In fact, the room number didn't even exist anymore. Patient 4413. There is no room 4413. That wing was sealed 2 years ago, after the ceiling collapsed during renovations. Since then, the number's been retired. We don't even mention it during tours or staff orientation. It's just a blank space, forgotten. But there it was, clear as day. 4413. Male, mid-60s, unresponsive, stable vitals. No known family. 4 risk. It was written in my handwriting. Slanted, tight loops. Even my little shorthand. The way I abbreviate unresponsive with a double underscore. No one knows that but me. I asked around. No one admitted to leaving the paper, and the overnight clerk swore she didn't print any physical reports that shift. I chalked it up to someone's idea of a joke, until it happened again. 2 nights later, another slip, this one with different notes. 4413. Agitated, attempted to remove IV. Requires soft restraints. Request psych consult. Again, my handwriting. Dated, initialed. I hadn't been in early that night. I arrived at 7:03 p.m., logged in as usual, checked my digital records. Nothing entered before 7, but the paper note was timestamped 6:45. That's when I started losing sleep. It wasn't just the mystery of it, it was the familiarity. The way reading those notes stirred something in me, a strange déjà vu, like I'd known that patient, like I'd taken care of him once, a long time ago, and forgotten. But how do you forget a whole person? How do you forget a room? I tried to ignore it, told myself I was just tired, overloaded, and maybe I'd accidentally jotted something down and slipped it into the stack without realizing. But then I started hearing things. Every time I passed the supply closet near the old wing, I heard a soft beeping. It came in short bursts, always around 3 a.m., then faded. At first I assumed it was feedback from one of the portable machines stored nearby. But when I opened the door, the machines were powered off. No cords, no lights. Still, the beeping continued, just enough to make you doubt yourself. Then the chart appeared. Not a shift note, a full chart, printed, stapled. Patient 4413, 5 pages. Vitals, med logs, DNR status, unsigned. No diagnosis, no name, just a barcode and a birth year, 1958. That's when something turned in my chest, because I know that birth year. That's the year my brother was born. David. He disappeared in 1987. Not in a dramatic way, not like in the movies. He just stopped showing up, stopped calling. We were never that close. He struggled with addiction, floated through states, cities, couches. The last I heard, he was in a VA hospital in Kansas. After that, nothing. My parents stopped mentioning him by 92. I never looked too hard. It was easier not to. But now here was a chart, a mystery patient, no name, no face, born in 1958, with notes written in my hand. That night, I walked down to the sealed wing, past the old vending alcove, through the dim, unused hallway. The air smelled stale, like forgotten papers and old ceiling tiles. The door to room 4413 was boarded over with plywood, but someone had drawn something on it. In pen, small, barely noticeable, a tally mark, 1. I backed away. No one saw me. No cameras in that corridor. When I returned to the nurse's station, I found a sticky note on my locker. Same handwriting. Mine. Check the drawer. My hands shook. I opened the lowest drawer, the one with the extra pens and expired patient bracelets. Tucked beneath a pile of bandage wrappers was a tag. Hospital ID band, white plastic. 4413 in faded black marker, and under the line marked name. Someone had written Janice +1. I dropped it, didn't touch it again. I haven't told anyone. What would I say? That a patient who doesn't exist is following me through my own notes, that I'm writing things in my sleep. I've started double charting everything now, not just digital, paper too. I keep copies in a folder. I highlight my initials. I watch for patterns, and they keep appearing. Every few nights, a new note, a new tally. The beeping comes louder now. Sometimes I hear it in other rooms, just faintly, under the actual monitors, a phantom rhythm. And once, just once, I saw a man walking down the old hallway, middle-aged, hospital gown, bare feet, dragging an IV pole. He looked up at me as he turned the corner, and he smiled. It was my brother's smile, but softer, like he'd been waiting a long time. That night, I added my name to the shift list for the sealed wing. Just as a joke, I told myself, Janice, 4413, night shift. The paper vanished by morning. Now I check every chart that crosses my desk, every intake, every discharge, every incomplete report. I look for gaps, for shadows, for the ones who stopped being counted. Sometimes I think 4413 is just a number hospitals give to what they forget, a placeholder for the people we let slip between systems. But sometimes, on the quietest nights, I think it's more than that. I think room 4413 is still open, just not to the living, and I think I've been assigned there all along. Every hallway has an end, but this one denies it. It stretches like it was designed to forget where it's going, a smooth, waxy corridor lit by dull ceiling panels that flicker without rhythm. At the very end of it, past the ICU supply closet and a battered linen bin, there's a door with no handle, no placard, no keypad, just a flat grey slab inset into the wall like a scar that never healed right. I walk past it every night. My name's Theo. I'm 38. I work night security in the east wing of the hospital, mostly assigned to ICU. Not a glamorous job. I make rounds, sign logs, escort the occasional unruly visitor out, and stop nurses from dozing off in supply rooms. I'm invisible, really. Not quite part of the medical staff, but not an outsider either. A shadow with keys. I've been here long enough to know which elevators creak, which vents whistle, and which lights refuse to stay on, no matter how many bulbs you change. I've also been here long enough to know that some things aren't worth asking about. That door is one of them. I noticed it on my first week. I thought maybe it was a back entrance to a records room or an old staff passage. I asked maintenance once. They shrugged, said they didn't have a record of it, just a wall. Was probably a sealed-off storage closet, they told me. But I've worked this wing 5 years now, and I've never seen that door collect dust, never seen it age, and I've never seen it forgotten. It started small, as most strange things do. One night, during my 2 a.m. round, I paused at the end of the hallway. Just something I do, let the silence settle in. My flashlight buzzed a little in my hand. I turned toward the door. There was a smudge on it. Not a fingerprint, not paint, just a dull patch, like someone had leaned their head against it and breathed. I stepped closer. The hallway was dead silent, but something about the door felt expectant, like it was holding its breath. I knocked, stupid I know, but it felt right in that moment. Just a soft tap with my knuckles, once, twice, and then 3 knocks from the other side. Not loud, not angry, just responsive. I froze, my mouth dried instantly, my hand hovered midair, but when I looked again, the smudge was gone, no sound, no knocks, just flat grey silence. I didn't sleep that day. The next time it happened, I didn't knock. I just stood there, holding my breath, waiting to see if anything would change. The light above the door flickered once. I stepped back. The hallway behind me suddenly felt longer, like I was farther away from the nurse's station than I should have been. I turned and walked briskly back, pretending I hadn't looked, hadn't lingered, but something had shifted. I started dreaming about the door. In the dream, the hallway goes on forever. No bends, no rooms, just that door, growing closer and closer. I reach for it, even though there's no handle. My hand touches the surface, cold, then warm. Then I wake up, always sweating, always at exactly 3:17 a.m. Then things began appearing at the foot of the door. First, a rubber glove, crumpled, pale blue. I asked around, no one claimed it. Then a disposable mask, laid neatly, as if folded by invisible hands. Then one night, a single patient sock, the kind with the non-slip grip on the bottom. It was damp. That night, one of the ICU patients coded unexpectedly. Elderly man, no family listed. His name was Dennis. I had helped push his bed back after they'd cleaned the room. I remembered the socks, that exact pair, pale green with the grippy soles. The day after his death, the sock vanished from the door. That's when I knew the door wasn't just a sealed closet. It wasn't forgotten. It was taking inventory. After that, I started leaving something near it after every code blew. Just small things, a tag, a tissue, a glove. Every time someone passed without family, without final words, I left something behind, and the door started giving things back. Once, a folded chart paper appeared, blank but for a single word written in red pen, still. Another time, a syringe cap, bent, as if chewed. I started checking the cameras, though I knew it wouldn't help. The footage skipped, only near the door, only between 3 and 3:20 a.m. The exact time the hallway felt wrong, the exact time the air shifted. Sometimes when I walk past, I hear whispers behind the door, not words, just tone, sad, patient, like someone humming without a tune, like someone waiting for permission to be remembered. I don't tell the staff. They already think I'm too quiet, too serious. I read too much. I stare too long at empty places, but they don't notice what I see. Like last week, room 16's patient, a young woman who coded after a surgical mishap, died on a shift I wasn't working. The next night, there was a flower at the door, a paper one, folded from her printed chart, twisted with surgical tape into a delicate lily. I still carry it in my jacket. Sometimes I think the door is a gate, not to death, to memory, to what happens when no one comes for you, when the paperwork ends, but the breath hasn't quite left the building. I've stopped being afraid. Now, when I walk past, I pause, I leave a word, a name, a thought. Once I pressed my hand to the center of the door and felt someone else press back. Same hand, same size, but not mine. Not exactly. I think the door knows me now. Or maybe it's me on the other side, watching myself pass by. Maybe I've already knocked. Maybe I'm the one who answered. People disappear in hospitals all the time, not physically, but spiritually. Their data is deleted. Rooms are reassigned. Names are forgotten. But not here, not behind this door. Some part of everyone lingers, waiting for someone to knock, to acknowledge, to leave something behind. I've left dozens of things, but last night there was something waiting for me instead. A folded uniform shirt, my size, my name stitched into the collar, but slightly off, as if copied from memory, not a tag. I didn't take it. I left my badge behind instead. Let the door decide what it wants. Let it remember me in the way it remembers them. Let it keep watch, even after I'm gone.